As we head into the weekend, temperatures are cooling down 70s by Sunday, but globally, things are heating up fast. Have you noticed how weather updates and world news can both leave you feeling unsettled? Let me set the stage. While we're slipping into lighter jackets, the Middle East is on the edge of a geopolitical wildfire. Why is it that climate and conflict often seem to intersect? Meteorologists use trend analysis to predict weather patterns, while intelligence agencies rely on signal intelligence collecting electronic communications to foresee military escalations. Both try to read the future, but in drastically different ways. Now, you might be thinking, what does my Sunday forecast have to do with nuclear standoffs? The answer is, more than you'd expect. Both show us how uncertainty shapes human choices. So, as we prepare for a cooler weekend, let's dive into why the world stage is anything but cool right now. It's day 5 of the Israel-Iran conflict, and the air is literally thick with tension. Fighter jets roar overhead, and the world holds its breath. But what kicked off this latest round of escalation? In military parlance, we talk about force projection, the capacity to deploy power quickly, and target acquisition, which is just a fancy way of saying figuring out where to strike. Israel's been using both, taking out Iranian nuclear sites with precision. Let me tell you a story. In 1981, Israel bombed Iraq's nuclear reactor in a move called Operation Opera. Fast forward to today, and many see echoes of that decision, but the stakes are higher, the weapons deadlier, and the players more unpredictable. Now, you might wonder, isn't this just history repeating itself? Yes and no. The technologies are new, but the underlying fierce nuclear proliferation, regional dominance are as old as the Cold War. So, as jets take off and headlines blare, we have to ask, what's really different this time? President Trump's latest statement? The U.S. knows exactly where Iran's supreme leader is, and he's calling for unconditional surrender. Bold words. But what's the game plan here? In international relations, we talk about deterrence, the art of making your opponent think twice, and escalation dominance, the idea that you can always out-threaten your adversary. Trump's playing both, hard. Let's imagine, you're the Iranian leadership. Do you take the threat seriously, or do you call the bluff? History tells us that neither side wants to be seen as weak, and that's where miscalculation can spiral out of control. Now, you might be thinking, isn't this just more political theater? But consider this. Rhetoric can move markets, armies, and sometimes the world itself. So, is this brinkmanship or a prelude to something bigger? Let's break down the risks. We've had this on our target list for years. That's not just bravado, it's a window into the world of military planning. How does the U.S. actually locate high-value targets in Iran? 2 terms you'll hear. Geospatial intelligence using satellite imagery to map the enemy, and human intelligence, or HUMINT, which means old-fashioned spies on the ground. Let me tell you a story about Osama bin Laden's compound. It took a decade, countless analysts, and one courier's mistake to pinpoint his location. Iran's leadership? They know this playbook, and they're always adapting. Now you might ask, if we know where everyone is, why don't we act? The answer is layered. Politics, legalities, and fear of retaliation. So, precision targeting isn't just about having the coordinates, it's about knowing when, how, and if you should pull the trigger. President Trump insists Iran will not get a nuclear weapon. But what does that actually mean in technical terms? Let's break down 2 key concepts. Uranium enrichment, the process that turns raw uranium into bomb fuel in breakout time, which is how long it would take Iran to build a bomb if it chose to. Imagine you're assembling a puzzle. Enrichment is like finding the right pieces, while breakout time is the clock ticking down. Iran sits at the table, the world watches nervously. Now, you might be thinking, can't we just negotiate? The catch: every round of talks buys time, but also allows Iran to advance its research. So, the nuclear question isn't just about weapons, it's about timelines, trust, and the constant race between diplomacy and disaster. Meanwhile, on Capitol Hill, even Republicans can't agree on what comes next. Some call for a full-scale strike. Others warn against getting sucked into another Middle Eastern war. This is classic civil-military relations, the push and pull between civilian leaders and the military brass. Another term, war powers resolution, a law that tries to check the president's ability to wage war without Congress. Let me tell you a story. Remember the Iraq war votes? Lawmakers are haunted by those decisions. Nobody wants to repeat history, but doing nothing carries its own risks. Now, you might ask, why can't they just agree? Because war means lives, treasure, and America's reputation on the line. So, as the debate rages, the clock ticks and the world waits to see what Washington decides. If the president gives the green light, what are the military's options? It's not just about jets and bombs anymore. Let's talk bunker busters, specialized bombs designed to penetrate underground facilities and cyber warfare, where hackers can cripple a nuclear site without firing a shot. In 2010, the Stuxnet virus, allegedly a U.S.-Israeli operation, set back Iran's nuclear program by years, all without a single explosion. That's the future of conflict. Invisible, deniable, but devastating. Now you might wonder, why use force at all if cyber works? The problem: cyber attacks can be reversed, and sometimes they're discovered before they do real damage. So, the Pentagon faces a menu of choice, each with its own risks, rewards, and unpredictable consequences. Iran's military isn't just sitting back, they're warning civilians to evacuate cities like Haifa. That's a chilling move and a signal to the world. In strategic studies, this is called escalation signaling, showing you're ready for the worst. Another term, counterforce targeting, which means aiming at enemy military assets, not just infrastructure. Let me tell you a story. In 2006, as rockets fell on Haifa, residents slept in bomb shelters for weeks. No one forgets that kind of trauma. It shapes national psyche for generations. Now you might ask, are these evacuations a bluff? History says, sometimes yes, sometimes heartbreakingly real. So, Iran's warnings are more than just rhetoric. They're a grim reminder of what's at stake if the conflict escalates. A lot of voices say, if the U.S. bombs Tehran, negotiation goes out the window. Is diplomacy really dead, or does it just look different in times of crisis? Let's talk about back-channel communications, the secret talks often held in European capitals, and track 2 diplomacy, where unofficial actors try to keep dialogue alive. Let me tell you a story. During the Cuban Missile Crisis, it was a secret letter, not public threats, that broke the deadlock. In the shadows, words are often sharper than missiles. Now you might wonder, why keep talking if no one's listening? Because even a tiny opening can prevent catastrophe, a lesson learned the hard way, over and over. So, while leaders posture for the cameras, the real work of peace might be happening quietly, off stage. As we wrap up, let's look ahead. What are the most likely scenarios if the U.S. and Iran collide directly? 2 key terms here: regional spillover, where conflict spreads to neighboring countries, and energy security, because the Strait of Hormuz moves 20% of the world's oil supply. Picture this: oil prices skyrocket, shipping lanes close, and global markets tumble. But there's also the risk of a limited war, where both sides try to avoid all-out destruction but can't control every move. Now you might say, surely cooler heads will prevail? Maybe, but history shows once the first shot is fired, events often move faster than anyone expects. So, as you enjoy this cooler weekend, remember, the hottest spots in the world may be thousands of miles away, but their impact is never far from your doorstep.